What is good, everybody? We are back with the Astronomy Iceberg, okay? Now, when it comes to icebergs, the things at the tippity top, that's what everybody knows. The more we go into the tiers, the more things that are hidden that's going to come to light that you never heard of. The government might have been hiding, that the world might be hiding. The deeper in the ice we get, the deeper in the water, the more interesting it gets. This is going to be like a little documentary, it's going to be longer than the average video, it might be between 40 minutes to an hour. So just kick back, relax. Let's talk about some crazy topics. Let's get into it. Now, the first thing we're going to get into is the planets. Let's go. All right, when it comes to the planets, I'm not going to go in order, but I just might go in order. We have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and some would say Pluto. Now, in my opinion, I'm going to add Pluto to that list. So I would say we have 9 planets. And then they're trying to add on a planet X that we haven't discovered yet, but they can feel its weight coming into our atmosphere. So we have a planet X that's probably on the way. So that would make 10. And that's the answer to that question. The stars. So when it comes to stars, the only star in our solar system that they really want to count is the sun. But there are many other stars, such as the one I'm showing you on screen, like Polaris. Now, when it comes to our solar system, there is one star that they really want to count, which is really the sun. Okay, now we have multiple stars such as Polaris, Sirius, things that a lot of stars people can't see with their naked eye unless they had a telescope. But the biggest star in our lives and in our constellation, in our universe, is the sun. The moon. The moon, okay, the moon is a mass object that formed a differentiated rocky body, making it a satellite planet under the geophysical definition of the term, okay? It's our only satellite known to man, okay? The most natural satellite closest to us is the moon. Also, people believe that the moon is a machine that's spitting our consciousness back into our bodies, into new souls that makes us reincarnate here. That's what a lot of spiritual people believe, that the moon is technically a machine. The moon is your reactions in astrology. It holds memory, and it's a very reactionary. The sun is action, the moon is reaction. Father, mother, things of that nature. The sun. All right, now when it comes to this thing right here, you got to give it some credit. Okay, but on a serious note, our sun is a 4.5 billion year old star, a hot glowing ball of hydrogen and helium at the center of our solar system, okay? It is 93 miles from Earth, 93 million miles from Earth, my bad. And without its energy, life as we know it would not exist. And astrology, now this is my forte. This is me right here. All right, now when it comes to astrology, okay, astrology is literally the thought that your birth time, the time you were born, the place, and the date describes your sun, your moon, and the rest of the planets are in certain signs during certain times in history, and these times make everyone different and makes everyone have a different life path. Okay, so that means when you do somebody's chart or you do your own chart, when you enter your own birth time, you have a sun, a moon sign, a Mercury sign, a Venus sign, a rising sign. You also have houses, through all of the 12 houses, just like how there are 12 zodiac signs. And the point of astrology is based on God looking around and doing his complete 360 of the universe with all 12 signs. That's why you go through all 12 houses as well. And you'll see that when you go to do your chart, you'll see something like I'm showing you on the screen right here, which is a natal wheel. Also, I do readings, so if you want to get into astrology, I also have an astrology TikTok where I have over almost 70,000 followers. Thank you all for supporting me on there if you came from there. And we're on to the next topic. Eclipses. Now, when it comes to eclipses, you have two types of eclipses. You have a sun eclipse, which is a solar eclipse, and you have a lunar eclipse, which is a moon eclipse. And just for visual representation, is right there. So a solar eclipse is when the sun crosses over the moon and you don't see the moon anymore and the sun looks black. Or not the sun looks black, but it looks darker than normal. Or you also have a lunar eclipse, so where the moon crosses over the sun and it gets real dark. And also this means spiritually that when the moon crosses over the sun, you need to remove things from your life that no longer serve you, no longer bring you action or any type of movement. And when it's the solar eclipse crossing over the moon, that's when you need to take action in your life, just assert dominance in your life and, grab a hold of your life. Remember, the sun is actions, the moon is reactions. The sun is male, the moon is female, mother, father, masculine, feminine, etc., etc. All right, boys and gals, made it to tier 2. Okay, now some of these I can already tell are going to be in the same realm of things, so I'm going to cover two birds with one stone on certain things. Like I'm pretty sure Buzz Aldrin and the first man on the moon, they went there together, but we're going to digress and go anyway. So with that, we're going to start with galaxies. Now, what exactly is a galaxy? A galaxy is a huge collection of gas, dust, and billions of stars in their solar systems. You know, a galaxy is always held together by gravity, which was also, gravity was a term coined and made by a fellow Pisces named Albert Einstein, but we're going to get into him. And if you don't know what a galaxy looks like, here's a picture here. And that's it. That's a galaxy right there, Shout out Albert Einstein. We're going to cover him in a minute. Nebula or nebulae. Now, a nebula is an enormous cloud of dust and gas occupying the space between stars, acting as a nursery for new stars. Also, this basically means nebula is what you're seeing on your screen right now, basically eventually turns into a whole planet. It's the baby steps, it's the beginning. The first man on the moon. All right, we're gonna cover Buzz Aldrin along with Neil Armstrong, along with the first man on the moon theory. Now, to start it off, okay, now they both were the first men to walk on the moon, apparently, because apparently there's a conspiracy theory that it was green screen. But Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong were NASA astronauts and aeronautical engineers. They became famous when they walked on the moon on July 20th, 1969 during Apollo 11. Gemini 8th was the mission in 1966, excuse me. Now, I would show footage of me like trying to show that maybe it is a conspiracy and maybe it's not real. But at this point, does anybody really care? I mean, I feel like NASA you can barely trust anyway because they're just now releasing that, outer space is water technically. And it's like a lot of people kind of knew that because a lot of these bodies of water that we call celestial planets, you can see it through a telescope. Refracting telescopes. So, a refracting telescope, okay? It's a type of telescope that uses a lens as the objective form of an image, also referred to as a dioptric scope. The refracting telescope design was originally used in the spyglass and astronomical telescopes, but is also used for long-term focus camera lenses. So these are the little telescopes you see at big NASA centers where they open up a whole little door, well, technically a ceiling, and they just point the telescope out the window, which is pretty darn cool, and I always wanted a telescope. Artificial satellites. Artificial satellites is basically any satellite other than the moon, so any created satellite. Technically, the only natural satellite we have in our solar system is the moon, or you could call it the sun, but the natural light that guides us is the moon. It's the only natural satellite we have. Anything else would be classified artificial. Aurora Australis. Now, these aurora lights are basically known as the northern lights, and they appear in a clear night sky as swirling rivers of greenish blue light. They move and dance unpredictably. In simplest terms, they're explained as an interaction of the solar wind and the Earth's magnetic field, and they make these beautiful lights in the sky that just can't be beat. You can't sit up here and say God ain't beautiful. I mean, he knew what the hell he was doing. Meteor showers. Now, a meteor shower is a celestial event in which a number of meteors are observed to radiate from one point in the sky, and they occur at a regular interval as the Earth passes through the trail of dusty debris left by a comet. A number of large meteors that appear over a period of hours or same days can literally look like it's coming from the same direction in the sky when they're like completely way far away from each other. But meteor showers are actually very beautiful. I mean, they don't impact us in a heavy, bad way at all because they always hit somewhere and are disintegrated by the time they crash. Constellations. A constellation is a group of stars that look like a particular shape in the sky, and they have been given a name. And a constellation also in your chart is the configuration of stars configured at 1 degree in your birth, okay? And that's astrology wise. But constellations are basically where they make a bunch of stars, make an object like the Big Dipper, or they may make an animal, things of that nature. Gravity. Okay, we're going to knock gravity and Albert Einstein out, even though he's the next tier in one go. Alright, so gravity is also gravitation, a force that exists among all material objects in the universe. For any two objects or particles having non-zero mass, the force of gravity tends to attract them towards each other. Gravity operates on objects of all sizes, from subatomic particles to clusters of galaxies. So that means nobody's safe, okay? That means you all getting pulled. Everybody getting pulled. Minor planets. Now, in 2006, the IAU defined the characteristics of a dwarf planet as being in orbit around the sun, not being a satellite of a planet, having a mostly round shape due to its gravity, and not having a clear neighboring region of debris, okay? So things that are minor planets are things like asteroids, little rocks, what else? Pluto, they try to say is an asteroid because it technically doesn't count as a planet, but they count as a planet sometimes. I don't know, but there you go. All right, now we're on tier 3. Okay, tier 3, we have Albert Einstein, etc., etc. Let's get into it. All right, so Sir Isaac Newton was a famous mathematician and astronomer who came up with Newton's law, but his most significant work had to do with the forces, specifically the development of the universal law of gravitation and his laws of motion. Galileo. So, Galileo Galilei was an Italian astronomer, physicist, and engineer, and he also was known for discovering the craters and mountains on the moon, Jupiter's moons, the phases of Venus, the stars in the Milky Way, and also the first pendulum clock. Alright? Michio Kaku. Alright, so Michio Kaku is an American theoretical physicist, futurist, and he also built a particle accelerator, okay? And he also co-founded the string theory, a subset of string theories, okay? The red giants. A red giant is a luminous giant star of a lower intermediate mass in a late phase of stellar evolution. The outer atmosphere is inflated and tenuous, making a radius large and a surface temperature of 5,000 K or lower. So it basically makes this planet really, 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 really hot. And as you can see, it's more red than our sun. So I only could imagine how it actually looks with the naked eye. This would probably look insane. Red dwarfs. Alright, so red dwarfs is the smallest and coolest kind of star on the main sequence. Red dwarfs are often the most common in the Milky Way galaxy, at least in the neighborhood of the sun, but because of their low luminosity, individual red dwarfs cannot be easily seen or observed. Blue giants. Okay, so a blue giant is a hot star with a luminosity class of 3 or 2. In the standard Hertzsprung-Russell diagram, these stars lie above and to the right of the main sequence. And yes, they are hotter than red stars or red giants, and it can be between 50,000 degrees Celsius depending on the type of areas, whereas red giants are only between 3,200 and 2,200 degrees Celsius. But your typical red giant is actually larger than the blue giant. Yellow dwarfs. A yellow dwarf, or a G-type main sequence star, is basically a star between 5,300 K and 6,000 K. I don't know what the K means, but about 10% of stars in the Milky Way are yellow dwarfs. They have a surface temperature about 6,000 Celsius and a shine that is bright and yellow to the point where it's almost white. At the end of its life, a yellow dwarf usually becomes a red giant or a white dwarf. White dwarfs. Alright, a white dwarf is what the sun, or any bodily sun like that, becomes after they have exhausted their nuclear fuel. Near at the end of its nuclear burning stage, this type of star expels most of its outer material, creating a planetary nebula. Only the hot core of it remains, which is what you see, which is the white star. It's burning so hot that it's white. Black holes. Alright, so a black hole is a region of space having a gravitational field so intense that no matter or radiation can escape at all. So that basically means if you come in contact with this thing, everybody and their mama getting slurped the truck up. Star clusters. Now, what are star clusters? Star clusters are a group of hundreds to millions of stars that provide astronomers crucial insight into stellar evolution through comparisons of stars, ages, and compositions. Star clusters form an interstellar region of gas and dust called molecular clouds. And with these, scientists can analyze what other stars are in there and what if there's human life also within these star constellations. M87. Now, Virgo A, or Messier 87, is a black hole in the constellation Virgo whose nucleus contains a strong pull, okay? And this is the first one to directly be imaged, which you see right here, okay? M87 is the most powerful known source of radio energy among the thousands of galactic systems constituting together in the so-called Virgo cluster. And it's just so funny how a lot of things in astrology people name astronomy after, and Virgo is like the mother of the star system. You know, Virgo is the support system of everyone, so it's kind of like the motherly energy. And it is funny how we're all in a Virgo supercluster. First animal in space. This is about to be a good one. Now, when it comes to this whole thing is just like messed up. So they found a homeless dog, the Soviet Union did, and they equipped him or her to be the first to go into space. Now, this is in 1957, right? They send the dog to space, and the dog dies coming back into orbit, disintegrating in the middle of the sky, bro. I'm gonna just play a clip.
"Please forgive us," said Russian biologist Adilia Kotovskaya as she wept and stroked Laika the dog before sending her off into space. The little street dog could never have known the importance of what she was about to do. 60 years ago, she became the first living thing ever to orbit the Earth. Sadly, it was only ever to be a one-way trip, with Laika surviving just a few hours and traveling around the world 9 times before a failure in the Soviet spacecraft meant she overheated and died. Laika was found on the streets like all of the dogs in the space program. Bitches were apparently always chosen, as they didn't need to lift their leg to urinate, thus needing less room in the spacecraft. But Laika's martyrdom hasn't been forgotten, her sacrifice paving the way for manned spaceflight.
Now that right there kind of speaks for itself. I mean, they were just evil. That's just evil, bro. The first satellite, Sputnik 1. Sputnik 1 was the first artificial Earth satellite. It was launched into an elliptical low Earth orbit by the Soviet Union on October 4th, 1957 as a part of the Soviet space program. Now, they were doing a lot of different stuff in the Soviet Union back then. They were sending animals to space. They had monkeys, dogs. They sent this, which looks like a damn disco ball. Like, I don't know what they were on, bro. Sunspots. Alright, so sunspots are basically, you know, a skin condition to where the sun basically can burn your skin and give you damn near cancer. Okay, if you don't have any melanin in your skin. You know, a lot of the times though, the gray spots aren't a type of skin cancer. So sunspots and gray spots are two totally different things. I don't know exactly what the gray spots are, but there you go. ISS, which is the International Space Station. Alright, so the ISS, the International Space Station, is the largest modular space station currently in low Earth orbit. It is a multinational, collaborative project involving 5 participating space agencies: NASA, Roscosmos, JAXA, ESA, and CSA. Nova and supernova. Alright, so a nova is a less powerful explosion, but a supernova is a cataclysmic explosion where elements heavier than iron and nickel are produced. Alright, y'all, we getting into tier 3. Okay, now this is where things kind of get to where you never heard of these things, or we're just getting into the deep depths of what's really going on. And it's a lot of things on this list. I'm gonna go into the most interesting things to keep it very interesting and on topic and not go over certain things that we already went over. But nonetheless, let's get into it. First, we start off with Kepler. Now, you might notice the name Kepler from a lot of planets that they find these days, or, you know, certain celestial bodies. But Johannes Kepler is best known for his 3 laws of planetary motion. Okay, he was also a famous astrologer, astronomer, mathematician, and theorist. Okay, and he was born between, I'm pretty sure he was born like the 1500s. Yeah, 1571, and he passed away in 1630. So shouts out to him, especially on the astrologer part. Okay, Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe was a famous Danish astronomer known for his accurate and comprehensive astronomical observations. Okay, born in Scania, which became a part of Sweden in the next century, he was known as an astronomer, astrologer, and an alchemist. He was born December 14th, so he was a Sagittarius, and he died October 24th, 1601. All right, and he also made the observation of the stars and planets to where people knew that it was more planets past the sun and the moon. Okay. Voyager 1 and 2. The Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft launched from Earth in 1977. Their mission was to explore Jupiter and Saturn and beyond to the outer planets of the solar system. This was a big task. No human made an object before that took this journey. All right, so basically they went around to the volcanoes of Jupiter, and I'm pretty sure they met up with each other at the space station, and then they went back out. But now the first one is, I'm pretty sure, past the sun, and the second one is going down below the sun. So they're going in complete opposite directions, and I think they're live streaming both of these and how they're just going in space. And mind you, these were made in 1977. So these were in space for a long time. And they think that these will run out of energy and it'll stop taking photos by the mid 2030s. Copernic. Nicholas Copernic proposed his theory that the planets revolve around the sun in the 1500s, when most people believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. So technically he changed a lot, and he was born February 19th, 1473, and he died May 24th, 1543. Geocentrism. Alright, so we just gonna kill two birds with one stone right here because they're both on the list, so I found a whole chart that you can see. And okay, heliocentrism is when you believe the sun is at the center, okay, and that the earth has an orbit that rotates around the sun. But geocentric is when the earth is at the center and the sun is orbiting around the earth, which would be crazy. You feel me? That would be actually insane, bruh. Antimatter and dark matter. All right, so when it comes to antimatter versus dark matter, we're just gonna go like this, all right? Antimatter indicates strong interactions. Dark matter does not indicate strong interactions. Antimatter indicates electromagnetic interactions. Dark matter does not indicate electromagnetic interactions. Antimatter has been proven scientifically, so-called. Dark matter is still a theory on concept, which is crazy when you think about it. Only a small amount of antiparticles exist in the universe. Amount of dark matter is supposed to be higher than the amount of ordinary matter in the universe. Pulsars. All right, so what is a pulsar? A pulsar are rotating neutron stars observed to have pulses of radiation at very regular intervals that typically range from milliseconds to seconds. They also have very strong magnetic fields which funnel jets of particles out along the two magnetic poles. Magnetars. Alright, so a magnetar is a type of neutron star with an extremely powerful magnetic field. The magnetic field decays powers the emissions of high energy electromagnetic radiation, particularly X-rays and gamma rays. Quasars. Quasars, also known as a quasi-stellar object, is an extremely luminous active galactic nucleus powered by a supermassive black hole with ranging from millions to tens of billions solar masses surrounded by a gassy disk. Okay, so that means it's a million black holes all inside of one big black hole, and that's why you see in that photo, it looks like it's just, if that was near us, bro, we would be cooked. You can see it's slurping in everything that's around it, bro. There's no defeating that. Tesla Roadster. So the Tesla Starman, aka the Elon Musk Tesla Roadster, is an electronic sports car that served as a dummy payload for the February 2018 Falcon Heavy test flight and became an artificial satellite of the sun. A mannequin in a spacesuit, which is Starman, occupies the driver's seat. The car and the rocket are products of Tesla and SpaceX, respectively, both companies headed by Elon Musk. The 2010 Roadster was previously owned by Elon as he would use it to drive to work. So now it basically rotates around the sun and it gives us not any footage, but it's just a satellite rotating around the sun. A car that he actually drove has a rocket on it and is rotating around the sun with a dummy mannequin driving. I find that crazy. The noodle effect. Now, when it comes to this noodle effect, right, I did some research. The real term is spaghettification, okay, referred to as noodle effect. It is when you're vertically stretching and horizontally compressing an object into thin shapes, rather like spaghetti, in a very strong, non-homogeneous gravitational field. It is caused by extreme tidal forces. Neutron stars, and then the rest of these are basically telescopes, and it's just like me explaining lenses on telescopes and pictures of telescopes. Now, when I come across a telescope that's groundbreaking, I'm gonna post it. It's probably deeper in this iceberg, but when I look these names up, I'm seeing a bunch of people just leave terrible reviews on these telescopes. So it's like, what's the point? Other than probably the historical aspect of it, but I know y'all probably don't care about that. So, a neutron star is formed when a massive star runs out of fuel and collapses. The very central region of the star, the core, collapses, crushing together every proton, electron, and neutron. And basically, these things are to where they would say we should be very scared of neutron stars if they hit Earth, you know. And right now it's telling me if one entered our solar system, it could cause chaos, throwing off the orbits of all the planets, and if it got close enough, raising tides that would rip the planet apart, you know. But the closest neutron star to us last recorded in 2017, is 500 light years away. So all I know is you born during my time, you good, you know what I'm saying? Now we're on tier 5, okay, chapter 5, as my Fortnite people would know it. I might have got these wrong in the video, but don't worry, I'm gonna put the chapters in the video. So starting off with that, let's go to Hoag's object. Now, Hoag's object is an unusual ring galaxy in the constellation of Serpens Caput. It is named after Arthur Hoag, who discovered it in 1950 and identified it as either a planetary nebula or a peculiar galaxy. The galaxy has approximately 8 billion stars and is roughly 100,000 light years across, okay? And its age is 12 billion years old. You know, that's a long goddamn time. John Dobson. So John Lowry Dobson was an American amateur astronomer and is best known for his Dobsonian telescope, a portable low-cost Newtonian refractor telescope. He was also known for his efforts to promote awareness of astronomy through public lectures, including his performances of sidewalk astronomy. Okay, and he's still alive today. He was born September 14th, 1915. And Hawkins radiation. So, Hawkins radiation is a black bodily radiation that is theorized to be released outside a black hole's event horizon because of realistic quantum effects. It is named after the physicist Stephen Hawking, who developed the theory, and he made it the argument fact in 1974. Okay, and it's crazy how he was outer space to prove this fact, apparently. And if he wasn't outer space, there's a video of him floating inside of a spacecraft, like with two people holding him up. So shouts out to Stephen Hawking, rest his soul. Near Earth objects. Alright, so near Earth objects are classified as meteoroids, asteroids, or comets, depending on the size, composition, and orbit. Those which are asteroids can additionally be members of an asteroid family, and comets create meteorite showers, which are basically streams of meteors that hit the ground and come into our atmosphere, but they probably usually disintegrate by the time they hit here. So this is kind of going over what I already went over, but it's going to be a lot of things like that in this iceberg. Sagittarius A. Now, Sagittarius A, abbreviated SGRA, is a supermassive black hole at the galactic center of the Milky Way. It is located near the border of the constellation Sagittarius and Scorpius, about 5.6 south of the ecliptic center, closer to the butterfly cluster and Lambda Scorpii. And as you can see, it's outlining the Sagittarius stars right there, you know. It just makes sense for it to be named Sagittarius because Sagittarius is the fire sign, okay? Astrophotography and astrocartography. Alright, so astrocartography, which is on the left, is an astrological thing. So where you use astrology to figure out where would be the best location for you to be successful, and where some of the worst locations are for you to be, so where you can go through a lot of traumatic incidents, a lot of emotional incidents, stress, things like that. Now, this is based on your natal chart, your midheaven, and your IC, which means like the home, the things you're comfortable with, and midheaven is more so things that bring you something that gets you known or seen, things you should be doing, but more so it might be a struggle to really express that, you know. So on the left, as you can see, the lines that you see are aspects in someone's chart. So you know, like if they have Sun square this, Saturn square that, the brown line is Saturn. You usually don't want to live near there unless it has a positive aspect, otherwise it can bring you bad negative Saturn like aspects. Okay, and then on the flip side you have astrophotography, which is nothing but photos taken in the night sky of celestial events or star-like events. So you know, if like a supercluster is going on, or if a supernova is going on, or if they're just taking pictures of the beautiful night sky like the one I have on the right. PSR B1257 plus 12 system, the Lich system, which is also in the video game Warframe. PSR B1257 plus 12, previously designated as PSR 1257 plus 12, alternately designed PSR J1300 plus 1240, is a millisecond pulsar located 2300 light years from the sun in the constellation of Virgo, rotating at around 161 times per second. It is also named Lich, a powerful fictional undead creature of the same name, which is also in the video game Warframe, as you know, your outer space and you have to go through their star system in order to get past the boss. Okay, and this is in the constellation Virgo, and the age is between 1 through 3 gazillion years. Accretion. Now, accretion in astrophysics is an accumulation of particles into a massive object by gravitationally attracting more matter, typically gas, in an accretion-like disk. Most astronomical objects, such as galaxies, stars, and planets, are formed by the accretion process. So what you see is how they get formed, okay? That's how they get their disc, their shape. It's kind of like the cake coming together. The Skywatcher. Now, the Skywatcher is a company that made a huge telescope in 1999. And it basically watches over the sky and it tries to take pictures of, astronomical events. It is made in China. It is still operational today. The company is still doing good. And now the brand is definitely extended into the US market. Hubble Space Telescope is sent into space. All right, now the Hubble telescope, okay? First conceived in the 1940s. That was when the first one was ever made. It was launched into space April 24th, 1990. It's a big telescope the size of a large school bus and it weighs as much as 2 elephants and is floating about 547 kilometers, 340 miles above Earth. And it's just watching over Earth, getting any type of anything that's coming into our orbit that we don't know of. It kind of lets us know automatically. That thing is like a satellite for the Earth, basically. You might as well say. Brown dwarfs. Brown dwarfs are substellar objects that are not massive enough to sustain nuclear fusion of ordinary hydrogen into helium in their cores, unlike the main sequence stars. Instead, they have a mass between the most massive gas giant planets and the least massive stars, approximately between 13 or 80 times that of Jupiter. Now, Edwin Hubble classifies galaxies. Now, when it comes to Edwin Hubble's classifications, he has them into 4 classes of the galaxies, okay? Spirals, barred spirals, ellipticals, and irregulars. He classifies spiral and barred spirals galaxies further according to their size and the central bulge of their texture of their arms, okay? And the smallest galaxies contain a mere few hundred million stars, while the largest galaxies contain up to 100 trillion stars. Scientists have been able to segment galaxies into 4 types, the galaxies into 4 types: spiral, elliptical, peculiar, and irregular. The Messier catalog are objects of 110 astronomical objects that was categorized by Charles Messier in his catalog Nebulas Amos de Tolis. Because he only wanted comments, he basically took photos of every other thing that frustrated him that wasn't comments. And that's basically what you see on your screen right here that I have enlarged. So these are all things that weren't comments that pissed him off to where he was just like, these look good, but they're not comments. So he just put them in a catalog. Eratos measures Earth's diameter. Eratos was a polymath mathematician, geographer, poet, astronomer, and music theorist in BC Greece, okay, at the Library of Alexandria, and he popularized and was the first to discover the circumference of the Earth, which somehow he did with only knowledge at his library. So he definitely did a whole, I don't know what that was about. I don't know how he used math or whatever to figure out the circumference of the Earth without even looking or seeing anything, but we're going to give him big ups for that. Now, like I said, we're going to do the lenses and the telescopes when we get to the really, really good telescopes, okay? But for the last thing on this tier list, we're going to use Celestron. So Celestron is basically, a telescope made by a man with the last name Celestron, because it's a Chinese company, or Celestra. And they took the picture that you see on the right of the galaxy, okay? And it's pretty damn cool. Now, these are one of the actual telescopes that are actually worth it. And this telescope was between $800 and $2,000 when I, checked everything on there. So this is actually a fire telescope if you can take pictures like this. So we are on tier 6. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. I always thank you guys for the love. This is definitely getting interesting, and we're gonna start off with Etienne Klein. So Klein is a French physicist, astronomer, and he basically is under fire when I just searched him up for plagiarizing a bunch of other astronomers, because he is a head and the president of the IHEST, which is the Advanced Studies of Science and Technology. Stevenson 218. Stevenson 218, also known as Stevenson 2 DFK1, is a red supergiant or possible extreme red hypergiant in the constellation of Scorpion, and also it is 2,500 times bigger than the sun. Deep Sky Tracker. So Deep Sky Tracker is basically a website that lets you put images that aren't very clear, and if you have a telescope, you could put images on top of each other and stack them, so that way you have a super clear image and kind of like a defining image of what you want to see, or if you found something out of space, you'll really get to see it in depth, Deep Sky Camera app. Yeah, so this one is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's the same thing as the website, except for it's an app where it just shows you a bunch of photos to where you can look at these photos, or if you have your own photos, you can stack them and make them more HD on the app instead of going to the website. Possible diamond rains on Jupiter and Saturn. Now, according to research, lightning storms on the planets turn methane into soot, which hardens into chunk of graphite, and then diamond rains as it falls. So, and also the temperature for Jupiter and Saturn's atmospheres, then modeled how carbon would behave. They determined that raining diamond is the most likely thing that's being rained by the materials being ionized on that planet, which blazars. Now, a blazar is a feeding supermassive black hole, SMBH, which I didn't cover in one of the earlier tiers because it's basically right here, in the heart of a distant galaxy that produces a high energy jet viewed face from Earth. Like other forms of active galactic nuclei, had to get that right, blazars are the most luminous and energetic objects in the known universe. So when you see one of these in the sky, that means there is a supermassive black hole going dumb, sucking in things as fast as the jet, just going crazy, bro. Starquakes. Now, a starquake is basically like an earthquake on a star. It's when like the gravity shifts off in a little bit and it'll cause the whole star to a violent eruption, a violent shakeup. Not like how Earth has a shakeup, a very, very violent, extreme shakeup to where the Earth's crust, the planet's crust could fall off of the planet. Starfish Prime, and I've been waiting to do this. This right here got me excited. Operation Starfish Prime, aka Operation Fishbowl, was a high-altitude nuclear test conducted by the United States, a joint effort from the Atomic Energy Commission and the Defense Support Agency of Atomic Bombs. It was a launch from Johnston Atoll on July 9th, 1962, and is the largest nuclear test conducted in outer space and one of the 5 conducted by the U.S. in space. Now, this was 60 years ago, 1962, and as you see on the left, that's pictures, and you see the debris falling along Earth's magnetic field with the air glow aurora as seen, and this is in an aircraft. Somebody's in an airplane and they see this, y'all. And the other picture that you see on the right is the flash from the explosion as seen from a heavy cloud, and this is someone's like in Honolulu, Hawaii, like taking that picture, and that right is what you would see if you walked outside during that time, basically. And I'm gonna post some video with this because to me this is one of the most crazy things. Like, how did nobody really know about this, and how did they get away with this? Quasi-stars. A quasi-star is a hypothetical type of extremely massive and luminous star that may have existed early in the history of the universe. Unlike modern stars, which are powered by nuclear fusion in their cores, a quasi-star's energy will come from material falling into a black hole's core. So it's basically a star that falls in line with a black hole. That's basically what a quasi-star is. And you can see it in the picture near the solar system. And as you can see Stevenson 2AB right next to it. UGC 1810. Now, UGC 1810 is a galaxy which is technically fighting with another galaxy right now, and it will devour its galactic sidekicks over the next billion years and settle into a classic spiral form. That's what NASA believes. But UGC is what you see right here. It is a spiral type of galaxy that's fighting other galaxies and stars it comes across, and it's basically eating them alive. You feel me? It's just consuming them like a black hole. So next we have NGC 6543, otherwise known as the Cat's Eye Nebula. Now, the Cat's Eye Nebula is a planetary nebula in the northern constellation of Draco, discovered by William Herschel, February 15th in 1786. And you can technically see Cat's Eye from the Earth, and it's very, very tiny, you feel me? But it's over 1,000 years old. It's just now reaching a visual fossil record, okay? And it is in the last stages of a dying star. Next up is R13 6A1. Short for RMC 136A1, is the most massive and luminous stars known, nearly 4.17 million miles away. Okay. And it also is a cluster star. So it's a group of stars all put together, and each group of stars make the brightest stars, the brightest cluster that we know. That a Chick Club crater is basically an asteroid that hit, or a crater, my bad, that hit the peninsula off the Gulf of Mexico. Okay. And right now it is buried underneath the sea floor. That's how hard the impact hit. And yeah, so it's named after one of the neighboring villages, and it spans over 110 miles wide, with about half of it resting below the Gulf of Mexico. So there's still imprints of it, you know, remnants, but the other half is in the water and damn near probably in the Earth's crust. Jean-Pierre Luminant. Now, as you can see, my boy Jean-Pierre was the first person to take an actual photo of the black hole and examine it, all right? It's just that simple. Shouts out to that's a legendary picture, bro. He don't even realize. Well, he definitely probably does realize. But that photo bases everything that we know about black holes in that one picture. Helene Courtois. Now, this right here is a woman who basically became famous for cosmophotography. So she takes pictures of the cosmoses and, you know, certain constellations such as the Pisces constellation. And I'm pretty sure she has an article out right now and also a book about the Pisces constellation going into the Aries constellation. So it's very, very interesting. Type 2 supernova. So when it comes to type 2 supernovas, gravity gives the supernova its energy. So the mass flows into the core by the continued formation of iron from a nuclear fusion. And then once the core has gained so much mass that it cannot withstand its own mass, it explodes into a crazy beautiful, and as you see in this picture, you see it exploding and separating. Now, these things can definitely be cataclysmic in space, but since we're on Earth, this look beautiful. Stellar collisions. Now, stellar collisions also can cause things like type 2 supernovas. It's basically when two planets or two stars collide with each other, and they basically are fighting for that space, and gravity is wondering who to pull to. But eventually one of those planets is going to have to destroy the other, since they want to combine and they're pulling towards each other, and it'll make a supernova to where eventually either those planets will separate, or one will just eat the other planet, and it'll keep going, like how the other planet that I had on the iceberg, to where it's just eating other planets, battling like it's a damn black hole when it's really not. All right, y'all, we're at tier 7 of this iceberg, and if you still here, I appreciate you. I love you so much, because this hour takes so long. I mean, this video took so long to do. So without further ado, let's knock the 7th tier the out. And to start it off with, we're starting with death by heat, entropy. So when it comes to entropy, we can knock two birds out with one stone. Okay, entropy is the measurement of the randomness, my bad, of molecules, while enthalpy, whatever the hell, is the sum of internal energy and flows energy. Okay, they have two different properties. One is JK, the other is J mol. Entropy is the negative for non-spontaneous processes. Enthalpy is negative for exothermic processes. Okay, just that simple. Degenerated state of matter. So, degenerate matter is a highly dense state of fermionic matter in which a Pauli exclusion happens. The state is referred to as full degeneracy. Okay, and let me see if I can find an example of it. Exotic examples of degenerate matter include neutronium, strange matter, metallic hydrogen, and white dwarf matter. I never heard of any of this. Pair instability supernova. So when the star is very massive, the gamma rays produced in the core can become so energetic that it drains away the rest of the particles and kind of starts an antiparticle pair. And the resulting drop in radiation pressure causes the star to partially collapse, which means just like, imagine just like a chunk of the earth just like fell. Like, you know, just imagine if like USA just fell off the map just from and you could see the inside of the earth type thing, like how you see in the image right here. Laniakea supercluster. So the Laniakea supercluster is the supercluster in the galaxy that is home to the Milky Way and approximately 100,000 other galaxies. Okay, and we're in the Virgo supercluster basically. Okay, and the parent to this constellation, because we're inside of the Virgo constellation like I brought up earlier, and Virgo has to do with astrology, which means the mother or support system, which supports all of us. It supports 100,000 galaxies. And the parent to this is the opposite sign of Virgo, Pisces. Okay. WIMPs. Now, a WIMP is a weakly interacting massive particle, and these are basically particles that eventually could make its own black hole or its own planet or get sucked up into another particle. You know, these are just basically very, very weak particles that don't do anything. A lot of the time as well, these can be used for dark matter. Quarks. Now, when it comes to a quark is any number of subatomic particles carrying a fractional electric charge, postulated as building blocks of hadrons. Quarks have not been directly observed, but theoretical predictions based on existence we have been confirmed experimentally. Anomalous X-ray pulsars. Now, an anomalous X-ray pulsar are an observational manifestation of magnetars, young, isolated, highly magnetized neutron stars, which I covered in a previous iceberg. These energetic X-ray pulsars are characterized by slow rotation periods of 2 to 12 seconds and large magnetic fields of between 10 and 1015 Gauss, 1 to 100 gigateslas. As 2017, there were 12 confirmed and 2 candidate AXPs known. The identification of AXPs with magnetars was motivated by their similarity to soft gamma repeaters. Now, we're definitely in the meat of things because a lot of these things are basically getting not hard to pronounce, but these I'm reading nothing but NASA words, okay? And we still going crazy. You know, my intellect is very up there, but goodness gracious, bro. So, Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall. So, the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall, or simply the Great Wall, is the largest known structure in the observable universe, measuring between 10 billion light years in length and 20 billion light years in length, okay? And this is actually crazy because it was discovered in November of 2013. This object is a galactic firmament, a vast of group of galaxies bound together by gravity about 10 billion light years away. Redefort impact. So, the Redefort crater is the largest impact structure known to just the Earth, okay? The crater, which has been eroded away, was around 160 and 300 kilometers across when it formed. The remaining structure comprised the deforming underlying bedrock. It's located in present-day Free State province of South Africa. So this one is bigger than the one that I showed you before, and I made a mistake and said that it was the biggest. This one is the bigger one, okay? And this is in South Africa. The other one was in the Gulf of Mexico. Next is orbital resonances. So in celestial mechanics, orbital resonances occur when an orbiting body exerts regular periodic gravitational influence on another body, unless because the orbital periods are related by a ratio or a smaller integration. Most commonly, this relationship is found between the two pair of objects. The quantic void. Now, the quantum void or quantum state is the quantic field theory, okay? The quantum vacuum state is the quantum state with the lowest possible energy. Generally, it contains no physical particles. So, basically what it's telling you is, by no means is it an empty space, okay? But they're basically thinking that there is a quantum void somewhere in our universe that we don't see, but it is here. Muons or moons. A muon is an elementary particle similar to the electron with an electric charge of -1 and a spin of 1.5. But with a much greater mass. It is classified as a lepton. As with other leptons, the muon is not thought to be composed of any simpler particles. That is, it is a fundamental particle. Active galaxies. Active galaxies are galaxies that have a small core of emission embedded at the center of an otherwise typical galaxy. This core is typically highly variable and very bright compared to the rest of the galaxy. Radio galaxies. Now, radio galaxies is a galaxy emitting radiation in the radio frequency range of the electromagnetic spectrum. But this particular type of galaxy emits more light at radioactive wavelengths than at visible wavelengths. Also known as a radioluminous galaxy or radio-loud galaxy, radio galaxies are driven by non-thermal emissions. GNZ11. GNZ11 is a high redshift galaxy found in the constellation Ursa Major. The 2015 discovery was published in a 2016 paper headed by Pascal Och and Gabriel Brammer. Up until the discovery of HD1 in 2022, GN711 was the oldest and most known distant galaxy yet identified in the observable universe, having a spectroscopic redshift of Z equals 11.09, which corresponds to the proper distance of approximately 32 billion light years, 9.8 billion parsecs. The BL lac objects. So a BL-Lacarte object, or the BL-Lac object, is a type of active galactic nucleus, AGN, or a galaxy with such an AGN named after its prototype, BL-Lacarte. In contrast to other types of active galactide nuclei, BL-Lacs are characterized by rapid and large amplitude flux variabilities and significant optical polarizations. BL-Lacarte, or AGN, active galactic nucleus, named after its prototype BL-Lacarte, in contrast to other types of active galactic nuclei, is characterized by a rapid and large amplitude of flux variabilities and significant optical polarizations. Now, here's where we get into the juicy. Now, we at tier 8. If you're still here, shout stuff out to you because you done made it through the thick and thin. You feel me? You done made it through the slumps. This is the deepest, most unknown things about space, astronomy, astrology. The rabbit hole never ends, okay? And shouts out to homeboy that made this, Black Cat blocking them. You know, he hit me up on Reddit too. He responded to me, so I hope you see this video when I post it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and let's get into it. Starting off with Brian May. So Brian May is a guitarist and astrophysicist. You know, he was a science team collaborator with NASA and the New Horizons Pluto mission, and he also campaigned and founded the Asteroid Day. Well, he's the co-founder of, okay? Now, he's also helping an animal welfare organization called Save Me. You know, this guy's basically putting his foot in everything. So with space, what he's doing with NASA is he's helping them figure out if asteroids have like sound coming off of them, and if they're not catching certain asteroids just by the sound, just based on sound completely. Next is 3C303 lightning. So this is also known as space lightning, okay? A cosmic jet 2 billion light years away is carrying the highest electric current ever seen, 10 times 18 amps, equivalent to a trillion bolts of lightning, okay? Philip Kronberg of the University of Toronto in Canada and colleagues measured the alignment and radio waves around a galaxy called 3C303, which you see on your screen, which has a giant jet of matter shooting from its core. They saw a sudden change in the wave's alignment coinciding with the jet. This is an unambiguous signature of a current. So that means this is the biggest type of lightning there is. That big bolt you see, that's how thick it is. Next is TON 618. So TON 618 is a hyperluminous broad absorption line radioloud quasar in Lyman alpha blob located in the border of the constellation Canes, Phenacti, and Coma Berenices. Boltzmann brain. So this theory is the thought that a brain could form out of nowhere rather than the way that it actually happened, I guess, with people having children or whatever the sort. And I don't know if this is supposed to go along with the Big Bang theory on how, you know, you technically don't need a birther, the universe can birth itself, which I could see, but it just still doesn't make complete sense to me, okay? Cubewanos. So the classical Kuiper belt object, is what it's translated to, is a low eccentricity Kuiper belt object, KBO, that orbits around Neptune and is not controlled by any orbital resonance with Neptune. So it basically orbits around Neptune, but it's not controlled by anything with Neptune at all. So it's just doing it on its own, which is very, very interesting. It makes me wonder, what is the real science behind that? PSR J0146 plus 6145. The PSR J0146 plus 6145 is translated to 40142 plus 61. It is also a magnetar star at an approximate distance of 13,000 light years from Earth, located in the constellation Cassiopeia. In an article published in Nature on April 6, 2006, Depto Chakrabi revealed that a circumstellar disk was discovered around the pulsar. So it has a disk around it, and it is a brand new star, and it is pretty cool. The Great Attractor. So the Great Attractor is a gravitational anomaly in the intergalactic space in the apparent central gravitational point of the Laniakea supercluster. The observed anomaly suggests a localized concentration of masses millions of times more massive than the Milky Way. However, it is inconveniently obscured by our own Milky Way's galaxy galactic plane, lying beyond the zone of avoidance, ZOA. So, in the visible light wavelength, The great attractor is difficult to observe directly. In fact, it will not be around for another 100 million years that Earth will be on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, allowing us to see the galactic plane. So soon, in 100 million years, I guess we'll be able to see it, but really, will that really matter? But this is basically, like I said, it holds the Virgo supercluster, which is the parent, well, the daughter or the son of the Piscean supercluster. And it has us in it, and it has a bunch of different galaxies. It has so many different other star seeds in it, so we definitely can't expect us to be the only ones when we're just a little baby blip in the map. Richter Horse Monolithic Telescope. So I'm taking it as this monolithic telescope concept or optic is a piece that you put a lens you put on a telescope that makes it very, very, very HD. This is one of the best telescope optics there is. Like I said, I was only mentioning the heat on here. Now I can't find actual video, or I don't want to get copyrighted because the video will come from YouTube, and I don't know if these people have, you know, copyright on their own photos, what they take of this. But maybe I'll have a part 2 to this iceberg if there's another one made and I can actually put in photos of this. Nuclear pastas. Now, in astrophysics and nuclear physics, nuclear pasta is the theoretical type of degenerate matter that is postulated to exist within the crust, of neutron stars. If it does not in fact exist, nuclear pasta is the strongest material in the universe. That's if it exists. It's the strongest material in the universe, the known universe, stronger than anything you're thinking of right now. That's if it exists, though. Metric tensors. Man, I tried to keep math out of here. Whoever made math, I love you, but fuck you. But metric tensors are basically what you would say, roughly speaking, is the function which tells how to compute the distance between any 2 points in given space. You know, you learn this in school. Its components can be viewed as multi-application factors which can be placed in front of differential displacements in a generalized Pythagorean theorem. And on that note, that is it. That is it with the iceberg, y'all. Shout out to everybody that made it to the end. You know, shout out to everybody that slid through, that's watching it. I didn't work so hard on this video. Only if y'all understood how much research, how many times I had to do it over because of what I said or me mispronunciating something, because these are some crazy words, y'all. You know, these are not no basic words. First off, these are words that you probably even heard of before, or you probably even said before, unless you like a science major. But anyways, Patreon coming back up soon. Thank you to everybody that stayed and watched the full video, because it means so much to me. You know, I only have a couple hundred subscribers, and I do have a lot on TikTok, but YouTube is a whole different ball game. But you see, I'm putting in that work to stay. I'm here to stay. Hope y'all appreciate the Overwatch gameplay in the background. I love y'all. Another video dropping. We drop another video this week. You know, I gotta have them transit updates ready for y'all. On that note, I love y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back with another banger later. Peace.